How are we doing? Are we on? Are we streaming?
Is it happening yet?
I think it's happening. It looks like it's happening.
Okay.
It sounds like it's happening. Everything is happening. Everything is happening.
So far, it shows up on our end. So
All right. Well, I'm gonna
let's
share
find out.
it.
We gotta ask.
Holly,
Can you
is it
hear
working?
us?
Can you hear us?
Yes, please tell us if you can hear us or not.
Here, maybe I'll pull it up on mine real quick.
Holly says, I can hear you.
Excellent.
Oh
Good to
boy!
know.
Did
Okay.
you hear the theme? Do we need to play the theme?
We need to
again?
play the theme song again.
That's happened again.
Okay,
Nobody
hold
heard
on.
it first
Theme
time.
song.
Okay, let me see. I want to make sure. Okay. It's
Absolutely.
On. It's on here. Okay, here it comes.
Okay.
It's for real this time, though.
Okay, for real. I still can't hear the theme song, but I know it's there.
I've heard this so many times today now. All right. So
All right.
It's Church Chat. Welcome.
We did it.
Yay!
We did it. Welcome to Church Chat. I am Pastor Dan. This is not Pastor Dave. This is Pastor Erma. We tried this a few minutes ago and it didn't work so well, but James is a magician.
Did his magic.
Keep saying that it's gonna fail again.
He did one of the most amazing things, just to fix everything. He turned his computer off and turned it back on. But
What we all do.
but that is the height of technical wizardry as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know how any of that stuff runs anyway. So we are glad that you are with us. And this is Pastor Erma. This is my mom. She's a pastor at Arcadia United Methodist Church. Here with us today. Glad that you're here. Sad that Dave isn't here. This past Sunday, Dave found out that he lost his dad suddenly, and so praying for him and for his family. They've gone through a lot. Everybody's gone through a lot in 2020. Seems like the Charles family has really kind of gotten an extra hit, losing some family members, and so praying for them and ask that you would keep them in your prayers as well. But that does allow us to have Mommy here. I never know what to call you in these kind of settings because
Reverend would be fine.
Reverend is fine. Okay. Reverend Erma, Mom, Pastor Mom. My kids call me Pastor Dad, which is kind of fun.
Sounds like a sitcom.
Pastor Dad. That does kind of sound like a sitcom. It could be my life could be a sitcom sometimes. I think it gets interesting.
Yes.
It gets interesting around there.
No doubt about it.
But thought we'd take some time to chat today. So we always start off talking about my chickens and those kind of things. So very exciting announcement that I know all of you have been waiting for. They are laying eggs now, which is fantastic. I've probably gotten, I think we're at almost a dozen eggs at this point in time. So we're getting there.
It's pretty good.
One of the chickens, and I think you all know which one it is if you've watched any of these. We have a chicken named Hey Hey, who is not quite right. There's something
Something's wrong.
like if you've ever seen the movie Moana, that's who this chicken's named after, is the chicken in that movie, because it walks into walls. It's just not the smartest chicken. And I think if it's laying eggs, and I haven't caught any of them, so I'm not exactly sure which ones, but some of the eggs that have been laid, like there have been holes in them or they've been almost smashed. And I'm like, well, that chicken probably lays an egg and then just immediately steps on it or pokes a hole in it or something, because that just seems like what
It
that
seems like that's what would be happening with that chicken. Sorry, you gotta have one.
it's not
One in every bunch.
it's not the smartest of animals. So you'll have that. But there's chickens on the farm, but you'd never really deal with the chickens.
Not much, no. I go up and retrieve eggs to bring home to cook, but no, I
Right.
don't.
But when you say you retrieve eggs,
I do not retrieve them from the nest. I retrieve
Right.
them from the egg room where they're washed and boxed up by my nephews and my husband.
have
not me.
you ever taken care of the chickens
Yes,
there?
I've collected eggs before and helped with feeding and watering a few times. That's not my thing.
Is
A few
it?
times.
I have a question. Is it not your thing because of a traumatic incident with birds from when I was a child?
That might have something to do with it.
So that story, and I was what,
You were probably 2.
2, something like that, and so. Make sure I'm telling this right. We had like this grain bin kind of thing that was empty, and for whatever reason, Dad thought it'd be a good idea to raise pheasants.
Yes,
Right.
in it.
And so we had pheasants in there. What, had maybe 20 pheasants, something like that.
I don't know.
And
I never stopped to count them.
I don't know exactly what happened, but you went in
I went in.
to take care of the pheasants. I'm 2 and outside, and somehow the door shuts and locks behind you.
Yes, it's a screened door, but it had a latch that went down on the outside. I don't know. I don't remember if you pushed it shut, if it just blew shut.
You think I did it?
Well, not purposefully.
You think I locked you in there with the pheasants? Like I was some malicious 2-year-old trying to trap you?
It would not have been malice. It would have just been a 2-year-old thing to shut a door or not. Doesn't matter. Latch went down, and I was stuck in this metal bin with pheasants flying around and banging into the walls.
Does the church board know about this story before they hired you, or? About you,
did they know about what kind of like I don't know, what's the movie where there's like, I don't know, there's probably several movies, there's like some terror of a kid who, yeah. No, apparently that was me. Apparently I locked my mother in with pheasants.
I just remember.
It's probably 100 degrees outside in this metal bin,
and I can remember saying, trying to get you to understand how to push that little wooden latch up. Not a clue. I think I finally busted it open, if I remember, because I could not stand to be.
And
anyway,
we were done having pheasants at that point.
We did not ever have pheasants again.
Yeah, got rid of those, and that was it.
Ever again.
So
there might be a correlation there. I really thought.
Yeah, we dive deep into people's psyches here and really try to explore the emotional, baggage people are carrying and that kind of thing. There's a lot of emotional baggage, I'm sure, with raising me, and two other boys and all of that. There's a lot of stories. We could spend the whole time just telling stories about that, but this is church chat, not Dan's childhood dirty laundry chat. So. Well, that'll be our next show that we do. But you are and have been a pastor now for how many years?
I started in 2007.
Okay, started in 2007, and so for those of you who, and this is being shared on your church's Facebook page also. So for those who are from St. Mark's or might be just watching this because they can't wait to catch every episode. Can you just share a little bit about just I don't know, your faith story and then how it is that you came to be a pastor?
Well, I definitely need to abbreviate all that, but I will start by saying, for those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in Findlay. I graduated from Findlay High School. I'm going to date myself, 1980, and then a year later got married. I had met Dean actually at church, my husband Dean, and we got married in August of 81. And at the time I was doing different jobs. I didn't finish college, and so I was just doing different things, worked in a bank and an agricultural financial institution, those kinds of things, but basically stayed home to raise 3 boys. But we were always very, very involved in the church, and we were youth advisors, youth leaders for a number of years. Dean and I worked with worship team and that kind of thing. And then when the kids were all then in school a little bit, everybody's getting a little bit older, and I could go back to work, felt like I could. I ended up as a secretary in a local high school, and it was during that time that I really started feeling restless about there's something more ministry-wise, and I went into the lay speaking ministry program first, and that was great, and I enjoyed it very much, but it didn't feel like it was really what I was being led to do, and I felt like there was more. Lots of time praying and thinking through these things, and one of the really where it all came to a head was having a conversation with our then DS, Tom Tumblin, and he talked to Dad and I, and was kind of picking my brain about how I felt about ministry and where I was feeling I was being led, and I said that's what I was really trying to figure out. I just didn't have clarity on that. And he's the one who planted it in my brain. Have you thought about pastoral ministry? And at that point, I can't say that I really had, but it seemed to click, and we had a great conversation. And basically, Dad and I left that meeting feeling like this was the right thing, and I began to pursue that. You had just gone through ministry, beginning of ministry stuff at that time. You were in seminary, and you actually began 1 year before I did.
Right.
In July of 2006, correct? Is when you began at Van Buren. And it was during that whole year then after that I went through the process.
I have a memory of like one of my first Sundays at Van Buren. You didn't come the first Sunday because you didn't want it to look like Mom's coming and sitting in the front row.
Correct.
But I have a memory of it was a couple weeks after that, you coming, and I remember seeing you afterwards, like, and kind of like teary-eyed a little bit, and I remember like saying like something like, I knew that you were proud of me, and you kind of said something to the effect of, it's not that, it's like I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and like I just remember that, and it was kind of cool watching you go through that process.
And so that next summer I did, and I went to licensing school, and I began the course of study and was appointed actually in 2007, then in July, part-time at Van Loon Christ. And so that was my beginning process, and I went through all the course of study, graduated from that, was at Van Loon for about 5.5 years, and then in December of 2012 was appointed full-time at Arcadia.
Yeah.
And been doing that thing ever since.
Been at Arcadia ever since.
And now you're back close by like you were when you were in Van Buren.
Yep.
And I don't know how much you enjoy that, but I sure do.
It's awesome getting to go through ministry together for a lot of reasons, bouncing ideas off each other. You also remind me when we have like district meetings and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, I had no idea that was happening. Thanks for paying attention.
You don't look at calendars. Quite as much as I do. It's okay.
So you've been at Arcadia now for a while, which is, if you didn't know that, that's where that's our hometown. I mean, I went to Arcadia, K through 12, and Dad graduated from Arcadia, and Grandpa Grandma also, right?
Yes.
Everybody graduated from Arcadia,
except for me.
except for you. And so it is kind of interesting being back in, like our old stomping grounds, and when I get a chance to be able to come to church, with you and see everything. It's like, I know all these families.
Yes.
I know y'all.
Former
and so
teachers and
my kindergarten teacher goes. It's
exactly.
So that's kind of fun. So how have Arcadia is it, let's be honest, Findlay's still pretty rural, but Arcadia is definitely rural. Right. I mean, y'all have a cornfield around the church out there.
Exactly. Actually, it's
soybeans this year. But so I mean that's pretty rural. How have you guys experienced this whole shutdown time where you're having to do church in a totally different kind of way? What's that look like at Arcadia?
Well, initially when it first began, we just immediately went to recording services and having a couple of musicians there each week when we recorded, and my husband Dean does all that stuff, and so he would post it. So that's how we started initially, just doing the online thing. And then you were getting ready at Easter time. We were all trying to figure out how we're going to do Easter in a unique way this year, and you kind of began that ball rolling with doing the outdoor worship at Emory Adams, and getting a FM transmitter. And so we began to look into how can we do something like that? Because we have a great situation at Arcadia Church with a nice sized parking lot, a carport beside the church that offers some protection for musicians and for myself. And so we looked into it, and on a whim purchased an FM transmitter after Dad did some research and talked to you and tried to figure things out. And so on Easter Sunday we did drive-in worship.
And you guys got it like on Thursday or Friday.
Yes.
And we're like,
this works. Yeah, spent time with him and Bob Fry, one of our musicians at the church that does a lot of work. They worked together, troubleshooting, figured it out. We had a packed parking lot for Easter Sunday. It was chilly, if you remember.
Yep.
I did not fall off the platform.
I was gonna ask
did
if
hear
anybody
that
fell off the
happened to
platform.
someone maybe at your service.
I have a vague memory of this happening.
But
The funniest thing, when that happened, and it wasn't funny, but what's funny in retrospect is I ran over to make sure you were okay, James. Dave ran over. Your wife walked away. She just turned.
Did you run over? I don't remember that.
No, she just walked away. She's like, I'm done with
I
this
have
guy.
no idea what
It's
he's
this is
doing.
ridiculous.
That's not surprising. By the way, I did just fix another audio problem that I didn't know we had until just now. So,
great.
so we'll be able
We
to
sound
hear.
even better now.
We'll be able to hear Erma a little better now. I think we were basically just hearing on your mic, Dan.
Oh,
It started
gotcha.
a little bit. But anyway, yeah.
It'll be fine.
I tell you what, today has been a heck of a
It's a
fun
day.
experience.
Yeah, technology. It's fun. It's fun when it works.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's frustrating when it doesn't. But anyway, we did that. Then we went back. It worked well. So we knew we could do it. We had some things we wanted to tweak and be able to record better and post it as well, blah, blah, blah. So we went back to the recording. Then we did parking lot on Mother's Day. Also went very well. And so we thought, okay, we have a few things we want to fix, and then we'll get started June 1st and do that. So we've actually been doing drive-in parking lot worship continuously since the first Sunday in June, and made some improvements. We had a very generous person in the church who built a specific platform and steps for us, which is wonderful. That's very portable. That's been really helpful. And it's been going really well. Some people are venturing out of their cars and sitting in lawn chairs down front where we have speakers as well, or off to the sides in the grass, and they can do that distance. There's plenty of room. We've had people who pull in their pickup trucks and point the other way, sit in the back of the pickup truck. It's been great. We've had a little bit of everything, but and wonderful musicians that are just doing a great job to provide all of that for the service as well. So that's what we've been doing ever since.
Have you noticed, like, people just from, because one of the things that happened with us when we had our service, and it's different because it was Easter and all of that,
Right.
but have you noticed people, like, kind of like, hey, what's going on over there, and then they end up becoming a part of this?
Well, we certainly have had people that come. We have it on our sign out front. We post it on Facebook and everything. So we've had people come that aren't, members or attenders of our church generally. So I think that there has been word of mouth or driving by or whatever, and we've had some in that situation. So yeah, it's great. It's working well for us.
I don't know how many people, who go to your church live in, like, that half mile or whatever radius around you, but they could probably even sit on their back porch and just turn on the radio.
If you're close enough, I think you could possibly do that. I mean, it's not real far expanded, but you probably could if you're really close by. And right now, because that's working well for us, our council has decided we're going to go month by month. We're continuing to do that right now. We know that when we move inside for in-person worship, it's going to exclude some people.
Sure.
We're not quite ready to take that step and do that when this is working well. We've had great weather. Some Sundays been pretty warm, but great weather every time we've done it. It's really been
sad
good.
for the farmers, but good for you.
Yeah, yes,
that
but we
doesn't
pray for rain.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so we've started going back to our services now, and it's definitely not the full amount, and we have people who are still watching online and those kind of things. And you and I have had these conversations before, had some of it this morning about how, man, this is, we use the term a lot, new normal. But it really does feel like there's a turning point where technology like this is not going to likely go away, even when the virus goes away.
Exactly.
And Dave and I have had these conversations a lot, so I don't want to keep rehashing the same point over and over again. But I wonder for you, just what are, like, no matter what it looks like going forward, what are the things that are most important? What are the things that are vital to everything?
I think for us, a couple of things. One is it's vital, and I work at it in so many different ways right now, to try to still stay connected to people. And it's difficult because we're not meeting together to sit down and to hear everything that's going on. So it's very important to me that I do the best I can. I never feel like it's enough, but trying to do the best I can to stay connected with people and still be able to know what's happening in their lives and in their families and in the community to best be there for them. And then obviously the other most important thing is that the gospel is still shared. The good news is still a part of our daily, weekly communication with our people, because you can't listen to the news for 5 minutes and not hear all the negatives. And it is negative as well to me sometimes, thinking about the things that we have to do so differently in church and the things that we can't do. So I try as hard as I can to be emphasizing the positive and the things that we can continue to do and the things that we can do differently and better.
I'm the same way. It's got to be about, helping people form relationships with Jesus. And I don't mean to sound flippant about this, but I don't care how that happens. I don't. Right. For me, it can happen outside of a sanctuary.
Absolutely.
It can, it can happen in different ways. The goal is not the survival of an institution. Right. The goal is making disciples of Jesus Christ. Absolutely. And so, but I think that there's something very naturally in us that wants that wants things to stay as same as they can. Right. But I was even thinking about this week. Like, we're all talking about, wanting to get back to what it used to be. Here's the reality. What it used to be was failing.
Exactly.
I mean, that sounds harsh, right. But the decline of church attendance and church members, things like that, like what it's always been was not working necessarily. It works for some people. Yep. But the general trend is kind of going away from that. And so this really has, and we've talked about this multiple times, but this really has forced us to say, all right, what matters in church? Exactly. What matters to all this? And I was writing a letter this morning it's going to go out with our finance statement stuff that's coming out second quarter. But just kind of reminding people of, I think it's Hebrews 10:25 or something like that, where it says, do not, as some are in the habit of doing, do not forsake meeting together. Exactly. I don't know that the writer of Hebrews had a pandemic in mind when he was writing that verse. But I think that the spirit of that is that corporate worship happens somehow. And I'm concerned that during this time people are getting away from that in some ways. Yes. That we've fallen out of the habit, that we've fallen out of the habit of not just of going to church, but of worshiping God, which is what's
important, obviously.
Way more important. Yes. So I would love for people to be able to come back and but if you don't feel safe doing it, don't come back. But what can't go away, the thing that to me is most vital, is that people still find a way to engage in worshiping God. Exactly. And we did the Walk series by Adam Hamilton a while back that talked about all these habits that we want people to form, and it's praying 5 times a day, as well as engaging in corporate worship at least as often as you can. I would say every week, but I know that that's not always realistic. Right. But finding a way to engage in some sort of worship, praying 5 times a day, reading 5 verses of scripture a day, and then I think it was 5 times a week. Try to find a way to serve in some way. That it's 5 times a month. Some sort of act of extravagant generosity, and then 5 times a year share your faith, and or invite someone to church. Just these habits these are habits that I think can keep us going. Things like this can keep us going during a time that's
totally
different,
abnormal for us.
But those are the kind of things that are really at the core of what it means to try to grow in being a disciple. And the truth is, you don't necessarily need to be in a building,
Exactly.
or even in a parking lot,
Right.
to make those things happen. Those are great things.
Yes.
And I hope you are finding a way to engage in worship in some way.
Absolutely.
This feels like a very, I don't know what word I want to use, a time where our souls could be very tender,
Yes.
and where now more than ever, maybe we need to make sure we're tending
Yes.
to those kind of things.
I agree. We've proven a couple of things. We've proven that we have the ability, we can be flexible. That one of the worst things, people say, I hate change, it's the worst thing that can happen, blah, blah, blah. But change does happen. And when we've shown an adaptability, I think most all churches, most all pastors that I know are doing things they've never done before in one way or another to try to keep engaging, to continue to do worship in one way or another, to do things that they didn't think that they could do before. So, and that's the positive. But the negative is, truly, it is disheartening. I know for all of us as pastors that whether you're open for in-person worship or only doing online, only doing like what we're doing, drive-in, whatever it might be. We have that feeling that we're not exactly sure, in some cases, how many people we're really engaging with.
Yeah.
And when it's in person, we know we're engaging with less. That's pretty much a given in most any church right now, because there's so many that don't feel they can do that. So yes, it's that if we're not tending to ourselves personally, and if we're not getting that word out, that's where we're going to really see a downfall. Because even as times do change, and maybe we get to be more normal, we have lost some people in that process. So it causes us all to be more diligent about that, right. I believe.
And I don't know how to say this well, but we do get, one of the things we do concern ourselves with as pastors is losing people. Their loyalty to me doesn't get them into heaven.
No.
So it's not that I don't care, but that's not
right.
It's hard. It can be a shot to the ego if you don't have, a good perspective on it. But, what does matter is that there's some sort of loyalty to Jesus.
Absolutely.
That sticks.
And that's what's so hard during this
Yeah.
time, because people that you don't see, and even if you're trying to stay connected with them, you're not sure what is going on in their hearts and lives. And that's exactly what that is, by far the most important thing. You want to make sure that they're still connected to Jesus. For sure.
I hope what people hear when they hear us talking about this is, and I know this is true of you, and it's true of me as well. I do this because I care so deeply for people. And we think about how to do these different things technology-wise, and how to reopen best we can. And all the things that we do are just because we just care so deeply about people.
And we want to do what is best, what God is calling us to do, trying to discern all of that in the midst of all of this change, and do what is the best for the people that we are serving.
Yeah, because I know that pastors in general and churches and those kind of things, we can get kind of a bad rap, and some of it's probably deserved for, and maybe in some cases more than others, it's very deserved, but for just like preserving the institution and counting the number of people, and like that it becomes some big ego trip and all this stuff. And it can be, you can fall into that trap.
Yes.
But I know for me, it's just, I want to do church however it helps people most to know Jesus. Like, that's just it. That's
bottom line.
That's
Exactly.
it. And so that's our task right now, is to try to figure that out. And if that means that we have to come and sit in James's, studio and do this, if this is the best way right now, that's by golly, we'll come sit in James's studio.
But if I come again, I'd really like to have my own foot massager.
It's really kind of rude, to be honest. He just sits there, getting a foot massage,
clicking some buttons.
We can share. I can just pass it
I'm
around.
not sure about that. I'm okay with that.
I mean, do you have to do both feet at the same time? I mean, you could share one foot hole.
Yeah, you guys, if it was right between you, you could probably
each.
figure it out.
Mom and I are close, but
that's
we don't need to get foot massages. Listen, the thing that is that I know you love, it drives me up the wall, is it happens usually at annual conference. Everybody thinks that because you look so young, and I've got not only gray in my beard, but wisdom all over my face.
All over.
That they think that we're husband and wife.
That's happened
multiple times, which I know just cracks you up.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't do that as much for me, but good for you.
Thanks.
So,
and we didn't have that opportunity this year at annual conference for that to happen. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I hear you. So, James, how are we doing over there?
We're doing great, and that's very timely that you would throw it back to me right then, because April Russell wants to know that when you guys went to the Holy Land, what was each of your favorite experiences on the trip, if you would go back again, and what you'd want to see if you do.
April Russell's from my church.
I know April.
You do know April because she
April,
was.
Yep,
she
was
right.
at the Emmaus Walk.
That's right, Emmaus. Correct. Oh,
Come on,
man.
St. Mark's people, you need to keep up. These sorts of questions.
There were so many phenomenal moments. I mean,
This was what, a year and a half ago?
Year and a half or 2.5?
I don't know.
Remember anymore. It was in
2.5.
2.5 years, I think. Yeah.
2.5 years ago.
I would say a couple of things. The most powerful moment was when we were in the Jordan River together, and we did a remembrance of each other's baptism, and that was just, I don't know, it was hard to put words to. That was phenomenal. The Sea of Galilee we could not have had a more optimum day.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Blue sky, absolutely gorgeous on our excursion on the Sea of Galilee. That was awesome. But the whole garden tomb scenario for me was we went back again after we'd been there on the tour with everyone, and then our hotel was close enough when we were there. You and I walked back down there later just to spend some time without very many people around, and that was a very, I don't know, very spiritual experience, just a quieting experience to be in that place. That was incredible. I would definitely, if I went back, I would want to spend time there. But there were some other places I feel like we didn't go, which you can't go everywhere in 10 days. I would want to kind of research, and I am sure that there would be other places I'd want to see as well.
Yeah. I mean, the garden tomb is absolutely beautiful, and I love that. I'll go a little bit different and say one of my favorite experiences there was we extended our trip by a day.
Yes.
The rest of our group left, and had a friend who was a missionary in Bethlehem at a
school,
Palestinian Christian school.
It was incredible.
Which is just awesome. We got to go and talk to a lot of the students there, and just get kind of a little bit behind the scenes kind of experience of daily life for Christians in Palestine in Bethlehem. Oh my goodness.
You can't describe all of that very well. You have to see it, but
which was really interesting. So we're in, Palestine. It's the West Bank, and I would say that the kindness and the hospitality where we were shown there was
top
beyond
notch.
what I could have
Absolutely.
imagined it was going to be.
It really was.
And part of it might have been because everything else had been super touristy.
Right. And so many places
and this was very real. This was just very much, hey, here's what life looks like.
And what was what was the guy's name who was kind of our personal tour guide that was a friend of hers?
Yeah.
The teacher. I can't think of
I
his
can't
name.
think of his name off the top of my head.
But he was a Palestinian.
Mm-hmm.
And he had dual, he lived there, but he also was able to go into Jerusalem.
Right. Yeah. And all the ins and outs of how that works.
How
Very
that works
interesting.
was so interesting.
Yeah, I
to
would
us.
just encourage you if you're gonna go over there at some point in time, and I hope I get to go back someday soon, and I really hope to be able to lead some trips, and just didn't work out last time, and that's all right. Make it happen soon. I would say go in with a very open mind and a very strong recognition of your own biases.
Yep.
Because it's just it makes the biblical stories there all the more powerful to see what's currently going on there today.
Absolutely.
It's just very, very interesting. I don't claim to be an expert on any of it. I got to spend 10 days there.
Yes.
But it was very eye-opening to me in a lot of different ways. So,
and for us, what was really good, I think, for you and I to both be going was that, we had a bus guide, tour guide, and he was great.
Yep.
He was really wonderful, but he also had, pretty strong feelings one direction. We were able to talk through each evening. We basically would sit and kind of go through
like,
what
wasn't
happened
that
today.
interesting?
Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And, being able to try to see it with more open mind.
Yeah. Good question, April.
As a matter of fact, Kelly Bibler has a question.
Okay, Kelly Bibler.
She says she just tuned in a little bit ago, and she wants to know what's one nugget that you have learned from each other about ministering to your congregations.
Ooh. I would say, so here's what it's been for me. You've been a pastor less time than I have, but that's not actually true, because you were a pastor well before that. What I've learned from you, amongst many, many other things, is what it looks like to counsel someone, to listen, to be that spiritual voice and guide. I can't count the number of times I would come home from wherever I was, and some of my friends were there just to talk to you, or somebody was there just to talk to you, sitting at the counter, and you're in the kitchen doing something, and the joke was always, you'd be in there baking cookies, they'd be pouring their heart out. By the time it was over, they felt better, and they had cookies, and it was just great. But so I think that was one of the big things that I learned from you is how to be that empathetic ear, when to offer advice, when to just listen and say that sounds hard, or whatever that might be. So that's one of the things, like I said, amongst many other things, but that's the first that comes to mind for me.
Thank you. For me, and truly, I did start in ministry after you. And so I have always kind of looked to how you're doing things. And I'm always trying to look beyond myself and my own little ways of doing things. We all get stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
You are very, very creative, and you always have been. You speak well. You illustrate really well. And I really look at how you do things, not only in your preaching, but your entire, like an orchestration of making sure that worship and that whole experience kind of streams together. That it's a total package, a total experience of the time, that when you do that, we all know as pastors, that's the one time every week that we have the most influence on the most people and can get the message to the most people. And that comes not only through what we say, but how things are put together, what the music is, the quality of how things are being done. And I look to that often, and how you continue to do that, and you continue to kind of reinvent yourself all the time in doing new things, and that's always inspirational to me.
Well, thanks. I think I learned a lot of that from the other experiences that I've had as well.
Exactly.
Like I look at people like Jason Collins and Mark Rowland and all these people who like have had an eye towards those kind of things, and that's where I learned
Really
a lot of that kind of stuff is. And and then try to make it my own in some way. But
Absolutely.
yeah, great. Thanks, Kelly. We appreciate the question. So, anybody else out there, James, or are people bored with us now?
Probably getting there. I can understand. Who wants to listen to Dan and Erma?
Exactly. So,
no more questions.
Okay.
No more questions. So
That's
I
all
think,
right.
all right. Well, I'm so glad you were here today.
I am so glad as well.
And hopefully Dave will be back soon. But if not, we'll do this again sometime.
That'd be great.
All right.
I think actually you need to consider your dad as a guest sometime.
Oh, that could be interesting.
That could be really interesting.
That could be really interesting. Yeah, we'll see what we think about that. Dean, if you're out there watching, let me know what your rates are.
Should we live stream him? I'm not. Might have to have some conversation first.
Yeah, we might have to have his on a 5-second delay. All right.
Oh boy.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and hope you enjoyed this. And hope everybody out there is staying well. Your services are at what time?
10 a.m. in the church parking lot
10
in
a.m.
Arcadia, Ohio.
10 a.m. in the church parking lot there, and you can come and sit in your car and listen to on the FM transmitter, or you can grab your lawn chair and space out, or whatever you want to
do.
Whatever you want to do there, and then we will have Corinne's video for Spark Kids Online posted today. Don't forget to sign your kids up. We're doing a virtual vacation Bible school, so check that out on our children's ministry page. Anything you want to plug?
I wanted to plug the same thing. I'm glad you said that. We are doing we hate that we can't do our typical VBS this year, but the youth are working today, putting together bags of gadgets and activities and prepackaged snacks, and tomorrow, Thursday, from 5 to 7, kids can drive through and pick those up.
Awesome.
Or on Sunday, noon to 2, 5 to 7.
What's in there? I might come by and get one.
We have an age limit on that, like
never mind.
5th grade. But anyway, and then starting Sunday, we will be posting the VBS videos for 5 days that are short videos that a few of us put together. So yeah,
Cool.
That's all happening too.
And then our worship services, either in person or online, traditional at 9 o'clock, contemporary at 11:15. If you're not able to worship with us or with Arcadia, find a place
Absolutely.
To be able to continue in your worship and your staying in love with God. And that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So glad you're with us. Thank you so much, James Adkins, for saving the day over there and figuring out how to make all the technology work. You really are
amazing.
You really are a wizard and a genius.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
It only took 2 times.
But
It's
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I don't think we ever really played the church chat theme, so I'm gonna play it now and we'll close with that.
It didn't actually work last time?
No, I don't think
All right,
so.
play the theme song again.
So here we go.
It's never too much.
Oh dear, now it's not making any sound at all.
No.
Now it's not working.
Hold on.
Hold on.
I know it's wrong. Here we go. All right, now we can do it. There it's gone.
It's church chat.
Even though you can't hear it, it's on.
With pastors Dan and Dave. Come hang out with us on our stream. It's church chat Wednesday.
See everybody later.
Bye.
Oh, come on now.
Takes them a long time to turn stuff off. I just sit here awkwardly.
And either